President Trump a racist? Joining us now is CNN political commentator Charles Blow. So, Charles, you're laughing at the question itself.
I mean, I don't. It's really hard to even know where to begin with this sort of thing.
Agreed.
Because, I mean, we can start at a basic place, which is that there are very few issues that you could find where Trump hasn't been all over the place, political issues. This particular issue of hostility towards people who are black and brown is one thing that he's been consistent with in his entire life. That means that this is really who he is. And if you think that maybe it's not who he is, you should look for some place where he apologized, repented, asked for absolution. There's not one. And that means that he is, and in fact, he doubles down on it.
And it's interesting because sometimes, Charles, he says the right thing when he's reading from a script. Haitians, I will be your champion. You will never have a better champion than I. So you can find in the record him occasionally saying the right thing, but it doesn't sound as genuine as it does when he speaks off the cuff.
I can read anything, yeah. Right? But it is, when you are talking, I want to know what you believe. And the pressure of the presidency, you're under a microscope. And what that does is it reveals who you actually are, because there's no place for you to hide, right? And so there are people always in your face. Everything that you're saying is being scrutinized. That means that eventually, whatever you believe,
you reveal yourself.
You will reveal it. And so he's simply revealing that. I think the bigger question that we have to ask, or really the real test now, is to move away from just looking at him to looking at all the people who are defending and supporting him.
Or being silent.
Or being silent. You cannot constantly, come out in the moment and say, oh, he said a horrible thing, I denounce it, and then go to the White House when you pass that, you're giving away the store with a tax bill and say, he is the best person ever, and he's the best president ever, and we love him, and he's just leading us in the right way. There is no space in there for you to do that. And that means that you are basically participating in the bigotry. You are part of it. I think people have the misconception that you can take the policies without the poison.
Yes, listen,
and
that's what they're trying to do. We've
cannot.
heard it a million times from the Republicans whom we interview here, which is the policies are so important. The policies are what their voters voted for and wanted them to represent in Washington. So they're going to just stick with the policies, and they're going to try to put this in a box, and they're going to try to compartmentalize the stuff that he's saying because the policies are worth it. Why isn't that a good point?
There's no difference between what I believe, what I say, and what I do, right? There is no way to separate what Trump believes on a basic level from what he wants to do. That meeting in which he said this was a meeting about policy. Mm-hmm. There is no way to separate the racism that's coming out of his mouth from his intention with the policy. So, I think people want a space. I get it. I get the desire to say, I've been a lifelong Republican. This is a Republican president. I would like to be able to agree with the Republican principles.
Well, it's that, but it's also we want tax reform. We've always wanted it. And guess what? We're getting it. We want immigration reform. We've always wanted it. And maybe we're going to be able to manage this so we get it. It's those things.
Right. But I would submit that embedded in a lot of the immigration language, even apart from Trump, has a racially skewed kind of sensibility to it.
There's another element of this, which isn't just people saying, oh, we're going to accept it because we like other things. There are people who are making the case, including the White House, that the president's base will accept it because they like it,
exactly.
Because they agree with it. I want you to listen to the president's, official cable network, Fox, talk about this last night.
If it's true, this is how the forgotten men and women in America talk at the bar. This is how Trump relates to people. If you're at a bar and you're in Wisconsin and you're thinking they're bringing in a bunch of Haiti people or El Salvadorians or people from Niger, this is how some people talk. Is it graceful? No. Is it polite or delicate? Absolutely not. Is it a little offensive? Of course it is. But you know what? This doesn't move the needle at all. This is who Trump is. He doesn't care. He shoots from the hip. And if he offends some people, fine. There's so many more offensive things that are happening in this world.
Charles?
That's an indictment. That is an indictment of the Trump base, right? They're basically saying, this is racist, and this is how we talk, and this is perfectly okay.
And if the president talks like a drunk racist at a bar, then we get it.
He's one of us. That is the extraordinary thing. We keep, like, even on television, in writing, on the newspapers, we keep trying to go out and say, we need to understand these Trump voters. I actually think I understand them.
No, Charles, I don't, because you can't say that's how they feel. Jesse Waters is indicting them. That's not fair. That's not how they feel, actually.
The moment
I talk to them all the time. I never hear them say what the president said in the Oval Office. They don't say racist things like that.
The mistake you're making is that you believe that bias and white supremacy has to be articulated to be true. And I'm telling you that the moment that you let someone do these things and say, I know it before I go to the ballot, and I am still going to vote for that person. I know it before they call me with the poll, and I'm still going to say I support what he does. That means that you have co-signed it. Just because you do not articulate your biases does not mean that you do not possess those biases.
I understand you're saying it's a tacit approval. I get it. But I'm also saying that you can't paint with a broad brushstroke about how they feel. You cannot put them all into a basket of deplorables. That's where Hillary Clinton went wrong, and it isn't right.
I'm not Hillary Clinton. And I'm telling you right now, you're putting yourself in a basket of deplorables if you say, after he says the things that he has said and done, not only during his campaign, during his presidency, his entire life, if you continue to say that I approve of his behavior, these are all the questions they ask in these polls. I approve his behavior, I approve his leadership. If you continue to say that, you are putting yourself in the basket of deplorables.
Yes, and fewer people are saying that they approve of that.
And I'm just saying that the ones who do, and that's what I'm considering the base, the people who on those polls say that they approve of that behavior, you are putting yourself into that basket. This has nothing to do with me. I'm not doing that. You are telling me. I read the data. I read what he says. I read how people respond. I listen to the people on Fox News. They're doing that. Has nothing to do with me.
No, I hear that Jesse Waters is certainly doing that for sure.
He shows. What? Jesse Waters shows. You know, he's okay with it.
For sure. You heard him. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, there's no debating that. Charles, always great to get your perspective. Thank you.